can you believe the controversial weekend of sports that we just had? It is unreal. I just got back home from my buddy's house watching the Kansas City Chiefs. Oh, man, heartbreaking loss to that New England Patriots. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, for a minute there was a point where I even started writing it all down because it was like, is this, like we were saying, is this rigged? Like, I even saw some jokes online where after the old Saints game, which we'll get into in a second. But man, I couldn't believe that, like, let me just 1 second. I got it right here. When they muffed that punt, that's where it started. It was like that weird muff punt thing. And then did he touch it, but didn't he touch it? And it was just crazy that they overturned it, that it's like, can you really tell though? I mean, those are, okay. So then the next play though, it gets picked off. So and we're all going crazy. And we're all freaking out. And we're like, now the Kansas City Chiefs has it. It's one of the most exciting things. And then what happens? Oh, there's the overturned pass from Kansas City that the ball wasn't actually caught. It touched the ground, which then all of a sudden gets us into the next stuff, which was the roughing the passer on Tom Brady, which continued the play, which we all know that's one of the most absurd roughing the passer calls any of us have ever seen. Like that one. I mean, like I said too, we just got out of the Saints game where we all saw that one too. If you didn't, there was a controversial pass interference. I mean, the most clear pass interference penalty that we've seen in a long time. Guy wasn't looking back at all for the ball and just tackled the dude and just took him out. It was no question. It was a pass interference, and that probably would have won the game for the Saints. It would have just milked the clock, and it would have been over. Different story though. It's funny though. So we'll get into that. But there was also then that overturned pass, the roughing the passer. And then they had the completed challenge where they did actually challenge the ball to see if it was a caught pass, and it was overturned. It was just like, oh my God. So many little things. So many little things. I mean, but hey, you know what? You got to give it to them. You got to give it to the Patriots. They're going again. And they're going against a team who has been favored heavily by, I don't know, the NFL gods out there, because wow, was that pass? That was unbelievable in terms of just a blown call completely. That would have totally changed the outcome of the game. I mean, and people could say oh, it shouldn't come down to that kind of call. It's like, well, that was pretty bad though. That was wow. But hey, you know what? They called the sack on Dak Prescott by his own lineman last week. So, I mean, my sympathy meter isn't too high right now. It's kind of yeah, that's what I was looking at last week when they were beating up on the Cowboys. I was like, where are these called penalties and no calls? And this is driving me crazy. And I don't know what to think right now. And then my Cowboys lost. And, well, it's okay. So, like I said, I mean, at least I called that one correct. And I had my heart on Kansas City, which they did get super close, and that was an awesome game to watch. Both of them super good games to watch. I mean, they ended up going into overtime, and they even noted that was the first double overtime game in the AFC, well, in the championship series, I think, ever, or maybe there was one other one, I think, but it doesn't happen very often, basically. So yeah, totally fun day of football, not gonna lie. And then last night, there was just a little bit more controversy to add to the whole weekend of everything. Like I said, I did get my chance to watch the UFC fights. I ended up starting with the Paige Van Sant one. I missed the first one, which I heard was actually a pretty good fight too. But the Paige one was great. I mean, she came out so technical against Rachel Ostevez. I had all these written down too, but I got so excited when I got home that I was like, I just need to turn this on quick and record it. But yeah, I mean, it was a super sweet match, and I can't believe that she was able to pull off the submission like that. I don't know what's rules on things, so I don't want to share too much of what happened, but yeah. So it was a sweet fight though, and then next one was a good one too, where it's just this one. Gregor Gillespie mauled Yancey. Medeiros, and I mean that wasn't even a competition. I mean, we watched the end of that, and like they give you like who controlled the match and everything like that, and it was just pretty clear Gregor just took over. And then the Joseph Benavidez versus Dustin Ortiz. That was a good fight. I thought Dustin was going to be able to maybe pull off some sort of crazy comeback, but Joseph Benavidez just kind of controlled him the whole time. Ended up going into then I would say probably the most controversial one of the whole night was the Greg Hardy versus Alan Crowder. And, poor Greg Hardy. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel for him. I don't know if that was intentional. I also started to notice, like, as soon as it happened, I mean, they kept just mentioning that he had broken the rule. And I noticed that none of the analysts or even like afterwards on ESPN and stuff like that, they never actually explained what the rule is. Like, I ended up having to go look it up. And yeah, it was just that his knee was down. He was technically a down opponent, just even having the one knee down and taking that blow to the head. Taking a knee to the head, I should say. Because had Greg Hardy just been punching him, it would have been fine. It would have been totally legal blows if he would have just used his fist instead of his knee. And I start to wonder too, like, would he have been able to just could he pick the guy up off the ground so that his other knee would have been lifted and then been able to hit him? I don't know. I mean, like, that's where I wish that they would have kind of explained the rule a little bit more and kind of, instead they just kind of kept saying over and over again, like, the referee comes out and he explains all the rules to him before they get in there. And so I don't know, like, and so I don't know. For me, it was like, okay, you keep saying that this rule is explained, but you're not explaining the rule. So that was my only beef with that moment, where I was like, you guys are kind of leaving a lot of people that might not know the sport as well in the dark, or someone like me who I know the sport pretty well, but I just didn't know the technicality on that. I was like, maybe I figured, I was like, it's the knee down, but I was like, maybe not. Like, is it technically? What if we actually look this up? And it was like, no, if one knee is down, it's not. I don't know. But either way, it's too bad. It's too bad for Greg Hardy. He ended up getting disqualified. Yeah, it's a bummer. I mean, especially, if you know the guy's story, and like I said, I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan, so I definitely was familiar with the story when he got acquired by the team. So, I thought maybe going into the UFC it'd be a little bit of a different story for him, and now it's just kind of like, ooh, that does not look good, man. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what comes of it. I thought his press conference interview afterwards was okay. I mean, he is a pretty tough dude and said some tough words about it. And so it's like, didn't seem super remorseful anyway. All right, so I'm going to wrap it up with the Henry Cejudo, who beat TJ Dillashaw. He did. I mean, he came out, and that's another weird, controversial one, because it was fast. I mean, Cejudo landed quite a number of punches, and you could see that Dillashaw was kind of panicky, rolling around, trying to get away, all this stuff. I smell like my pizza's burning, so I'm going to have to wrap this up even faster. But it was only a 30-second match, and so a lot of people, even TJ Dillashaw himself, if you go look it up, he is not happy with these results. Thinks that he got, kind of hosed. Even Dana White kind of said that too, where he's like, it was an early stoppage. But hey, the next thing it could have been was literally just TJ Dillashaw getting another few punches to the dome or getting rolled over and choked out. I mean, so maybe that referee was kind of like, hey, I was just stopping from what I saw was going to be the end of your match by some other more painful method than continuing to get pounded in the face. So, and like they even said, in 35 seconds, and you look at TJ Dillashaw's face afterwards, it's like, how long was the match? You made it only 35 seconds in and your face got that busted up? Damn. So, I don't know. It's a hard one. Let me know what you think if you do watch this. Like I said, try to keep it short. I think my pizza's burning. But if you got any comments on the game, what you thought, go ahead and put it down below. So, catch y'all later.